Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand, owner of the company Horns of Odin, and I'm joined as always by Dr. Mathias Nordic.
Hello, everybody. This time we are joined by Vévaki. We're going to be talking about their new album, Fórnspeki. So welcome to the show, guys.
Nice. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. I think this might be the most people we've had in one sitting.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best. I was going to say, as I said that, I was going to say we'll do our best not to speak over each other. I don't know if you guys want to introduce yourselves one by one. Obviously, two of you have already been on here before. Hopefully, people will recognize you as you introduce yourself. But who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'm Will. I am one of the singers and songwriters of Vévaki, which was originally just a solo project of mine that I brought this guy, Subali, in on.
I am the Subali,
Subali.
who was the project, musician, tattoo artist, and I brought on Gisli.
Hello, I'm Gisli. I'm mainly a modern classical composer, and they brought me in to do like production and arranging and like bring a bit more atmosphere to the music.
He's the purveyor of vibes.
Yeah, that's my official title.
Ooh, I like that.
And then last but not least, the completion of our ensemble, Hrafnildur.
Hello, I'm Hrafnildur. I'm one of the singers in the band, and I do various small like shakety shake things.
Yeah.
on stage.
Clickety clackers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm mainly a tattoo artist by trade.
Mm-hmm. So Sigurd and Haba, you both have joined us before. Welcome back, and thank you for coming back again. Sigurd, I think you were the first guest we ever had.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Were you one of the first guests?
I
Yeah,
think he was the first.
back in 1837.
Yes, something like that.
It does feel like that, especially after the last couple of years. So, Will, you said this was a solo project for you because we mentioned before that the band's only been going, officially a year-ish?
Yeah, so I released an album in 2020, like right at the beginning of the pandemic. And yeah, it was just me writing the music, but Subali was involved on almost every song in some way. And then, yeah, this lineup as it is now has only been maybe the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess what was the reason to expand?
I think it was kind of a natural progression. I think me and Subali have always kind of seen eye to eye musically, and we're both craving doing something a bit bigger with our music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you only have to look at it because Spotify gives you numbers. I don't know you can probably tell me how accurate Spotify numbers are when you see like the ones underneath the song. It looks like it's going really well. There's some big numbers on those songs.
Yeah, it's growing for sure.
Yeah, we're incredibly happy and humbled by how it has been received. Like, remember in the beginning, like, yeah, he did his solo album that I helped out with, and then we just sort of, because I had been working helping other musicians, and we just decided, why don't we just go big this time? Let's just put all our eggs in one basket and just really make this happen.
Yeah.
And it actually finally paid off after so much work, and with these two as well. It sort of paid off all the hard work we were put into this, so we couldn't be happier.
Yeah, for sure. And I think at the beginning, like it was just kind of what we were doing already. I probably wouldn't have actually tried to record anything if Subali didn't push me to. And so he's always kind of been there from the beginning. So it just seems like kind of a natural progression.
Mm-hmm. It feels like there's so many talented people that can create music in this community that don't ever record unless somebody forces them to. Sigurd, I know that we probably both agree that Sean Parry's one of those who is insanely talented, but obviously does all these other things and just never gets around to sitting down and recording. And I guess you need that person.
Yeah, we need to zip tie him and throw him in the studio and feed him a banana once in a while so he doesn't die. Otherwise, he needs to just really record some stuff.
You know, sometimes maybe that's not your path. Like what Sean usually does is, you know, bring the party to various bonfire situations instead, which I personally very much appreciate.
Is that what you tell yourself about your drum and bass career, Matthias?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it just is not the. Sometimes life just doesn't put you in that direction.
My path is not drum and bass fame. No, that's only for dark basement scenarios for myself.
I'm Mid-Gaspard 2023. There will be a Matthias.
Yeah.
If I can make that
Viking drum and bass, that will be me.
Oh, yeah. Neurofunk and throat singing. Nice.
Yeah, I think I think if anyone can do it, you can do it, and it'd be fun. A little party atmosphere in the guild hall.
Yeah, I'm not putting my eggs in that basket.
Oh, I am.
You're gonna be my manager.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll try my hardest. Okay. So I guess what are the influences behind because I think we say to pretty much everybody that's in this kind of it is its own music genre, even if we don't officially give it what would you guys call it? I don't think we've asked anyone in a while. What would you call this type of music? Because I guess most people say Viking music, but
no, I mean, we have little to do with Vikings in our music. Like it's mainly based off of our modern kind of traditions, but the Reykjavik Grapevine just called us, what do they call us?
Doom folk. I like that, yeah.
It's like doom folk. Yeah. I really like that, but I guess we've been calling it like dark neo folk, or it's folk music, but it has new stuff in it.
Future instruments.
Yeah. Synthesizers.
Modern production.
Yeah, modern production. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
I mean, that doesn't exclude it from being folk music. Like, I mean, if folk music is a type of music that's, you know, created by people out there based off of the cultures that they adhere to, you could also assume that at some point they would start introducing a new instrument, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I guess you'd have modern folk. I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm sure folk music just covers all different time periods and genres.
But like neo folk, I feel like it's such a curious or sometimes even problematic category, because you start thinking about like depressed neo-Nazi Germans who are like sitting there playing a guitar in the Alps and stuff like that instead. And I mean, that's not what you guys are.
I like the name Doom Folk. We should just embrace that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard it here. We are Doom Folk officially.
Doom folk. I mean, it's very nihilistic. It's very kind of feels very end of the world.
Yeah.
And a bit, which, yeah, I mean, it's a good title.
Apocalypse is straight up my alley. I like that.
Oh, here we go. Volcanoes. No, so I guess, yeah, again, what are the influences behind it and kind of the direction that you choose to go? Do you have any, or is it just a case of that it's you two, Will and Sigma? It seems like you two are kind of like the main creative hub, and then you kind of just do your own thing, or are you kind of looking outside elsewhere and taking little bits of influences?
Yeah, so it started off as just kind of music that me and Sibole would add to our own like personal rituals. So we draw a lot of inspiration from that, from like our practice in heathenism and whatnot. But yeah, like a lot of our songs start off as things that we would play in our own rituals. So I think that's a driving force for sure.
Mm-hmm. So how does that feel kind of on a personal level? Because again, rituals tend to be very personal things, then opening that up to the universe effectively, I mean, like, here's this.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to share them with the world. And we'd hope that we could inspire people to do similar things in their bloats and rituals.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be, yeah. I always wonder how people, yeah, because I know when the one ritual I've ever been a part of, Mateus, that was the one that you kind of put on, and it was such a personal thing. I don't know how I'd feel kind of opening anything involved in that to people to look into, or whether it would just feel a little too personal, I guess.
Well, I mean, when we're performing on stage and these songs and as part of these rituals, of course, we kind of leave out the personal things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But to us, we are just the normal folk, because we are. So we're not these majestic priests or shamans or something. We're basically just practicing our rituals and our we would say Nordic animism, and we'll try to keep it humble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are the rituals for?
Well, it depends what we were doing. So, for example, we have a song called Dísablót, and Dísablót is a traditional bloat that was done in the winter time, usually around the winter solstice. And it was believed in Nordic cultures that sort of summer belongs to the men and winter belongs to the women, because, you know, of course, a kind of dated concept today, but it was, you know, the men would work in the field in the summer, and then the women would take care of the home in the winter. So we've sort of adapted that into modern terminology that winter belongs to the feminine energy, regardless of your actual gender. So we honor the feminine spirits, and then we do a Dísablót. And of course, to communicate with the Dísir, you mention them by name and you give them offerings, you know, the common ones, Frigg, Freya, Sif, Idun, all these are, you know, goddesses of the common folk.
Mm-hmm. So I guess you said before that it's not, I don't really know the way to put it. It's not Viking music, but do you take influences from, obviously, from like Nordic mythology and bring that into the rituals? Or do you keep that kind of more modern?
Of course, Nordic animism and Nordic mythology are all sort of intertwined, but the religious practices themselves are not, there's not the same as the mythology. It's a separate thing, but we use the mythology to sort of hone in on what we want to do specifically in each ritual. So to us, and let me stress that it's different for everyone, and there's not a wrong answer in this, but to us, we're not exactly praying perhaps to Odin in the sky as a actual physical being looking at us, but more of the sort of spirit and energy that he represents. The forces, yeah, exactly.
Kind of represents everything we should fear and be grateful to and respect. Basically, natural forces.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of the core of the rituals that we are doing, and we interpret that into our music.
Okay, so I think there might be some listeners out there who's like, okay, well, pagan rituals, that's something with like dark robes and animal sacrifices and those kinds of things. Would you guys care to dispel those myths just for a second?
Well, so like modern Ásatrú is, of course, reconstruction because we have very little information of how the religion was actually practiced. We have some archaeology, but that doesn't tell us much on actual religion. And the first thing people go, what about Ibn Fadlan? Let's just push a diary written by some guy traveling aside. That's not really concrete proof, but it's definitely interesting. But yeah, dark robes and I would advise against animal sacrifice for sure. But as long as you're not doing anything harmful or racism or Nazi, then finding your own way in a religion and ritual is perfectly fine, I think. So by all means, wear a dark robe if you want, but I don't think the robe itself doesn't do much.
I think it's just different for everybody.
Exactly.
It's like everybody does it in the way they want, and I don't think there's any wrong way to worship what you want as long as it's done with appreciation and love. And the main thing with Norse mythology is live and let live. So
Nordic mythology. Let's not
Nordic
piss off Matthias over here.
Sorry,
Hey, I mean, if you guys want to refer to yourselves as Norwegians, that's your thing. Burn.
That's never going anywhere, is it? The whole mythology thing.
I'm never gonna let go of that one.
But I guess for new listeners, Matthias once wrote an article. What was it called?
What? Which
what
article?
Was the article that started this whole anti-Norse thing?
Oh, Norse must die.
Norse must die. That was it. What was so to give a quick rundown for new people?
Oh shit!
I feel like we bring this up all the time, and we're so
getting
far
into the
away
rabbit hole. Yeah. So the word Norse is just an English mispronunciation of the word Norsk. Means Norwegian, and so it's applying it to everything that happens north of the Eider, which is a river in Germany. For those who don't know, is kind of just wrong. That's really it. And
how you really feel.
What?
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about languages, for instance, we have multiple different languages, and we should, instead of calling them Norse, West Norse or East Norse or stuff like that, we should apply a proper terminology to that, right? It's the same with archaeology. If you call it Norse archaeology just because it existed back in the day, again, that's improper terminology. It's a scholarly thing.
Oh, okay.
I understand why there's so many memes about you.
I heard that's why he came off Facebook.
Oh, is that why?
He couldn't handle the memes.
Hey man, I was making my own memes.
Oh, you were like the Russian trolls, just feeding your own memes into the system.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But I guess that gets me thinking about. Okay, so Will, you said you are originally American. Sigurd, how about you? Both are Icelandic, and
yeah, me too.
Yeah, so we've got 3 Icelanders, which I guess comes into the question quite well. What do you guys think about that in terms of like what Matthias said about everything? Because it feels like, especially when it comes to everything related to the Viking Age, it gets lumped into very simple categories, particularly by people on the entry level or Viking bros or whatever you want to call them, of like Norse or just like Scandinavia in general. Like we had the whole episode of whether Iceland is classed as part of Scandinavia or not. Like, what do you guys feel about that? Particularly, just going back to like the Norse thing. Does that kind of, is there any frustration on your side, like there is with Matthias, about it should be Norwegian, but obviously to him, it's a thing. And so I was like,
I feel like we're psychoanalyzing me now.
Yeah, so I was like, I was like Icelanders because it feels like it's an odd one because obviously a lot of this stuff came from Norway, Denmark, Sweden, before before Iceland. You know, they originated there and then went over as Iceland been formed. But it feels like in modern day, a lot of people look to Iceland as almost the last stand. I don't know how to put it, but like they look to that almost more than Scandinavia or Norway, Denmark, and Sweden itself, as like the kind of you hear it said all the time about how Old Norse is closest to Icelandic and all these little things. It's almost like that is for a better term, like the holy place to look at. So I was interested in what you guys thought about that.
Iceland is not the utopia the internet thinks it is.
No, it's almost like the Mecca for this kind of thing.
Yes.
I don't think Icelanders think about it like in general. I mean, I can't generalize, but I don't think Icelanders think about it in the same way as foreigners who look at Iceland do.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're sort of just like, oh yeah, we're a Nordic country. Scandinavia is Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and like maybe Finland part of that. But like
let's not go there.
But yeah, I think we don't really give a hoots what people call us or whatever.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would. Scandinavia to me is definitely Denmark, Sweden, Norway.
Yeah,
and the Nordic is like the bigger picture.
We kind of think of us as a cousin rather than a sibling. Like, you know,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, but like people do have this idea that they'll fly into Iceland and immediately be greeted by rock and mud language and everybody's drumming with antlers on their heads. It's just normal, but people, I don't know. And most people don't observe any pagan religion, anything. It's just a nation. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
modern country.
Like language-wise.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
people do take a little bit of pride in the fact that Icelandic is like
for sure
has remained very unchanged for a long time.
And I think that's a really good
like
thing.
A national pride in that. Yeah, we definitely have.
I hope it's not arrogance or anything, but like I know people want to hold on to the Icelandic, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We take that pretty seriously, I think. The government, like, we create new words for everything instead of stealing them for English, and so we can like try to keep it unchanged. Yeah,
which is
except when you guys actually speak, you throw in a lot of English all the time.
Officially, okay.
Oh,
don't take that away from us.
I speak beautiful Icelandic, but that ties in like all our lyrics are in we sing them in modern Icelandic pronunciation, but we do use some Old Norse, Old Icelandic lyrics, basically something. So Will put a lot of effort into pronunciation, and he is on point.
Yeah,
and he is learning Icelandic.
Yeah.
So.
But the language is important because we want to give like a good representation of Icelandic out in the world. Because I don't know if there are a lot of bands doing just everything in Icelandic. Of course, some bands will pull from the Eddas and stuff, but
there's a lot of bands who claim they sing in Icelandic.
Well,
okay.
I can't understand a single word they say.
I just sat up in my chair then.
I think I have an idea of what you're talking about here.
So, how does that work in? It's just okay. Will, you said that Will's learning Icelandic.
Yeah.
But if you sing, so do you just learn the songs that you sing in Icelandic? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So is it just because
he's learning
the language? Yeah.
He understands. He's not just parrot learning.
No. He's learning. We're trying to teach him things like every day, and he probably knows all the curse words by now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
It's always a good place to start.
No, but the first album was all Eddic poetry, because obviously I can't compose poetry in Icelandic. So it's all taken from Eddic poetry with lots of like emphasis on really getting to know it and know the pronunciation and all that. But what's very exciting about this album is there's a lot more original poetry from Sevole and Hrafnadur. And yeah, we're really excited about that.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you said that you. So I'm most curious how people. I struggle with how to phrase things sometimes. So you said about you get as close to the Old Norse or Old Icelandic as possible with your pronunciations. How do we do that? How do we know?
No, so
with language, that's the thing that kind of
even
confused me.
Even if we're singing something from the Edda, should be Old Icelandic, we still use modern pronunciation. Yeah, for the most part.
Because we don't know, but we do have. I mean, it's not all the Eddic poems. They were all written in Old Icelandic, and Old Norse are pretty much the same. It's so. I mean, but I still think it's cool to say Old Icelandic, so we're more special. But it is, it is the Old Norse language. But yeah, we pronounce it with modern.
Well, I mean, as I mentioned before, Ólafur Þórðarson, he wrote the third grammatical treatise, where he explains how the Old Norse or Old Icelandic language is pronounced. And we can see a couple of like differences, for instance, in pronunciation. And this is why if you go to learn the language, for instance, that Snorri Sturluson wrote in Norway, you will learn a different pronunciation than you will in Iceland. Most who teach the Old Norse language in Háskóli Íslands, they will use modern Icelandic pronunciation. And then you have like, there's like one dude over in Norway who's like, no, you should say "aw" instead of "ow," and those kinds of things. And that's really what it comes down to, like, not that big differences.
And we also have a cowboy who, oh, never mind.
But no, I think it's cool that you guys are essentially like saying, well, we use modern Icelandic pronunciation because this is part of our cultural heritage. Boom, there you go. Like that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But Matthias, how can we ever know how words were pronounced 1,000 years ago?
We can't know exactly, or that well at least, how words were pronounced 1,000 years ago. We can know relatively well how they were pronounced in 1250 when Ólafur Þórðarson was telling us that this is how they're pronounced in writing.
No, what do you mean in writing? He's
writing down this letter corresponds to that letter in Latin. This letter corresponds to that letter in the runic writing system, and so on and so forth. So that's what we can go off of in terms of understanding how people in Iceland in the 1200s would pronounce things. But that's very different.
I don't trust that. Maybe it's just my idiot brain that can't get my head around this, but I don't understand how from writing we can just figure out how things were.
It gets a little difficult also, like in modern Icelandic, for example, the word for horseshoe, skeiva, it's actually like written skeifa, but we say skeiva with the V, but the way it's written doesn't anywhere discern that you actually say a V sound instead of an F sound. To say that people back then didn't do all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, and also they were more isolated between towns, so they might have pronounced it completely different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I mean, we must assume that there must have been some kind of dialectical differences in Iceland as well. We can also see another thing that we can look at is misspellings. And for instance, if you go to the runic material, you can see differences in like how runestones, like how they spell things on runestones or other runic inscriptions, depending on time and location as well. But they're pretty consistent too. So, there are minor differences between like 800 and 1100. So that's also a way to access possibilities of like linguistic change.
I find it
dialects.
That there's no like regional accents or dialects here in today's Iceland. There's only like
There's a bit of an accent difference up north.
in the
for
north
sure.
where they just pronounce it more properly.
They like accent the K's, like instead of saying mjölk, they say mjölk.
Yeah.
Instead of banki, it's banki.
Yeah.
But it's such a minute thing.
It
It
is.
barely counts.
It's
as
not
an
a
accent.
dialect. This is
No.
a slight accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a big island, and compared to, say, the Faroes, where they have like all these tiny islands, and sometimes like people in the south don't understand the people in the north, and we're talking like you could drive there within an hour.
That blows my mind. Actually.
Yeah, it's really strange. We have Iceland that takes like 24 hours to drive around, and everybody just speaks the same.
Yeah. I mean, you get that here
Yeah.
in where I am. Obviously, Will, you said you live in Harrogate. Obviously,
Yeah, like-
if you go to Newcastle, you get an accent. In where we are, there's a different accent. Liverpool is not that far away.
Yeah, so I travel like back in my wife's family is like in Merseyside near Liverpool, but I live in Yorkshire, so just 2-hour drive.
Okay.
And it's a completely different accent.
Oh, it's different.
Yeah.
It's
well, I mean, what happened in the late 19th century in Iceland is that there was a standardization and a distinct push as well to educate the population in speaking in a certain way, and so that has also contributed to a more standardized form of Icelandic. I actually don't know what the language situation would be in the 1700s, but I'd assume that there was some difference between how it was spoken in North and South and East and West, and a lot of Danish influence on it as well in the 1700s.
Yeah, thank God we pushed that away.
What you don't want to sound like what comes out of the ass of a cow? Come on.
I always love having like different people from the different countries in Scandinavia and Iceland on here, because you all seem to have this. It's almost like brother sisterly love, where it's like I can pick on you, but if anybody else picks on you, then I'm going to then stick up for you. So it's like you guys will tease Denmark will tease Iceland and Norway, whatever. But then if, say, like me or as an English person, I was like to attack Iceland for whatever reason, then Mateus would stick up for Iceland. It's like this kind of like family love almost. It's like you're teasing, but it's I'm allowed to tease, you're not allowed.
Yeah, it's very common.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
It's like a family.
Denmark is definitely like the weird uncle you see.
I'll accept that one. Yeah.
Yeah. We all have something on each other. Like we make fun of the Swedes and Norwegians and all that. But I think the Danes are under the heaviest fire.
From us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But they caused the most trouble.
Don't get 100%.
No. The thing is that the Swedes just swept all of their shit under the rug, and now they're like all nice and greenwashing everything. And
no, they swept it to Denmark.
I don't know if you feel this, Mateus, but I certainly do with like English history. If anyone ever like says anything, but I'm like, I feel like I just have to take it. Like there's nothing, even though I'm not responsible for anything we did, but I just feel like it's just like I'm just gonna take the abuse to a degree.
My problem is more that Denmark is sort of like the Scandinavian version of Alabama. Like we're like these weird shit kickers who just can't stop fucking up. Like it's just like a couple of weeks ago that the head of the Conservative Party in Denmark called Greenland Africa on ice and then had to like apologize for that. Yeah, you have to apologize for that. You're an idiot if you say shit like that, right? And that's stuff that comes out of Denmark. I don't hear stuff like that from Norway or Sweden or Iceland. Well, Iceland sometimes, but we seem to be cultivating that kind of atmosphere. That's the real problem here. You know, the past is complicated because you can definitely point your finger at Denmark in the 1700s and the 1600s and the middle of the 1500s. But on the other hand, then you can also start pointing your finger at Norway in the 19th century and what they did to the Sami, for instance. And there's still like a group of Norwegians that cultivate sort of like an idea of a Norwegian North Atlantic empire in different ways. And yeah, so but ultimately, yeah, my problem is with contemporary Denmark.
I mean, Denmark can't be fucking up more than England right now.
Oh,
we can't do anything good. I mean, you'll have to take a look at our government, and it's just it's horrendous. We changed prime ministers, and I don't even know that we've changed prime ministers. Literally, like the last one.
Or vote for them for that matter.
Yeah,
you don't
even know. We Rishi Sunak, who's prime minister now?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that happened. I didn't pay attention to the news for a few days, and apparently we've got a new prime minister. No idea.
I've been absent for all of that, thankfully.
Yeah, you hid away from it.
Yeah.
Well, you have your own mess to think about.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, even you're stuck right in the middle there, aren't you?
Yeah.
To be honest, one of the best things I ever did was just as sort of towards the end of, because I feel like the news got relevant again during COVID, because everyone was worried and you all kind of had to watch the news to see whether you were going into lockdown, coming out of lockdown, like how things were progressing. And then towards the end, I just lost interest in the news completely, and a lot of trust, I guess, as well. So the best thing I did was just stop watching the news and stop checking news articles all the time. And my mental health and my feeling, just how I felt, got so much better, because there's so much doom and gloom. And I know it's important to keep up on world affairs, but it's almost like when you stop obsessing over the news and watching it, it's like it almost is like it just doesn't exist. It's like everything that's happening now, it's like it just doesn't exist if I don't look at my phone or watch the TV and check it. I just feel better for it. And I do think you have to keep up to date with the current affairs, but it's so difficult when everything is so doom and gloom all the time.
I'm in the same boat as you. I think a little healthy dose of ignorance makes a happy life,
Yeah.
Get away from the doom and gloom and listen to doom folk instead.
Exactly.
Yes.
There you go.
A magic pill will make you happier.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't make it worse.
I
Really,
have no
yeah.
idea what you're talking about.
So that's actually one thing I wanted to ask you about. Was you said that you classically trained?
I'm a modern classical composer, yeah.
Okay. How does that work with this style of music? Do they marry up quite well?
I mean, I would say my role in the band is less of like a classical musical one. It's more of a production one, like sound building. Like I mix them, and I sound design, and I create atmospheres and synths, and I add strings occasionally, but mostly I think I'm kind of building a world for them to live in, kind of sound wise.
You're making the soul of the music.
Yeah. I mean, we'll send in like a couple of tracks with like maybe a drum, some singing, and then he adds like 5,000 more tracks of like
so
layers
crazy.
and layers of stuff. So like,
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, even a complete musical illiterate like me can hear when there's like been a classical composer involved in making a track. Like there's a big difference between that and then,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
we have explored though, like on a couple of songs, more of like a modern classical approach, and I think we will explore that more in the future.
Actually, you're right. Yeah.
Like
That's a good point. Like in Veteran,
yeah,
I kind of had free reign in that. He just sent me one.
I played talarpa, and he gave me like a drone in C to play over, and I played over it and sent it to him.
And then I just orchestrated an entire orchestra around that little melody that he played. So yeah, I think I would say they marry pretty well. Like the stringed instruments, like the folk instruments, work very well.
They do, yeah.
With like a more orchestral setting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that kind of background and training, it's always there, no matter what, no matter how whether you're working on whatever the project is. I guess it's always going to be in the background. It's always going to influence it in some way.
You just have these tendencies. That you always, you're right.
But you also have a lot of like post-rock influences.
Yeah,
that comes out.
I feel like that's a big part of what I do for you guys. Like all the distorted stuff in Gestathottir and stuff like that. That's all very post-rock, not classical at all.
Just makes the song more dramatic.
Yeah, because adds intensity.
Yeah, because we didn't tie ourselves to any Viking theme and such. We're not afraid of sort of doing whatever. We're still sticking to the whole, Nordic ritual kind of thing, but using
they're modern beliefs, so there's nothing stopping us from
synths and stuff that we want, because it's our music. We can do what we want with it.
Hey, Theo, when you say you didn't tie yourself to a Viking thing, what do you mean by that? Like what does Viking represent in all of this?
I mean, it's the classic. Of course, people expect you to wear Viking clothes and talk about Viking things and drink meat and be all Viking-y, which we're not about. We're normal people in the future, and we can separate those things. You can separate Viking from religion and then Viking from music. You can enjoy all these three things too. That's fine. And it sounds like I'm not like crapping on other bands. Go for it. Use the Viking theme as much as you want. Fantastic. It's just not what we're doing.
Yeah, we are in Viking reenactment.
Oh yeah, we do Viking reenactments, but we also separate that from. There's not. Viking and religion are not the same. You don't have to be a pagan to be a Viking reenactor.
And we also just invite everyone to join us. You don't have to be a certain type or anything. You don't have to be in any box to like our music and to attend our shows.
Yeah, I've gotten messages through my Instagram of people like, hey, so I'm from Brazil and I want to kind of observe this also true. Like, am I allowed? Like, of course. What?
It's insane, isn't it? I get people, through Horns of Odin, people will message like, I'm from Malaysia. Am I allowed to buy this? And it's like, yeah, of course you fucking are. Of course you are. Why would you not? Why would you not be? It's such a shame that that's even a question.
Yeah, I think like we also like I think the whole Viking reenactment thing is very concerned with like historical accuracy, and we're definitely not concerned with playing like historically accurate instruments. Even our talahapas have direct plug-in inputs on them.
Yeah.
Nice.
And in terms of like garb, like we don't go on stage with garb because we don't. I mean, we might dress up for a bloat or a ritual, so we might dress up to go on stage. Like we won't go on Viking garb. We wouldn't go to.
I mean, a bloat is an occasion.
It's an
occasion.
You
put on your nice clothes when you do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just like Grandma told you to put on your suit when you go to church.
I guess the thing, being a band predominantly from Iceland, singing in Icelandic, you're always going to get pushed towards that. They're a Viking band. That I assume that's going to just happen.
That's okay.
It's fine.
We just accepted it at this point. Yeah.
And plenty of people like compare.
Oh, the algorithm will love it.
Yeah.
Like we're getting compared to Heilung and Varduna and all that. It's like that's not what we're going for, but yeah, sure.
But that's nice. Like both of those bands are fantastic.
People know those bands, so being compared to them is not bad.
Yeah. I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just
no.
We are part of the same genre, so of course, we'll get compared to those bands.
Genre with no name.
Yeah, well, that's But I completely get what Sigurd is saying, is because it feels like, and I say this to everybody we have on here that makes this kind of music, is that you have these two powerhouses, undeniable powerhouses within the genre of Heilung and Vardruna, and then you get a lot of people on like a lot of bands, particularly like the lower level, who pretty much just try to imitate them. And then you get people like yourselves, and particularly with like Nabala as well, and Shell, and people like that who just do their own thing and want to make. And I guess the question is, how conscious are you to stay away from going down either of those paths or sounding too similar?
I think we just try to be genuine and
I
make
don't think
music
we have
that
to
we
Yeah,
like, that makes us
Or,
happy.
or is that even a thought of like trying not to?
Not really, no. We're
just
do our
doing
thing,
our
I
thing.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, but of course we see it in the comments and stuff, and we expect that. But yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll probably always be there because that's what people naturally are going to relate it to.
There was an interesting one we saw, like there was like a reaction to one of our songs, and one of the comments was, they're just ripping off the Who.
Yeah.
Because
The Who.
Because there's throat singing in the song, it must be the Who.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah. That makes sense.
I think it's all, I mean, you got, for example, Metallica and Megadeth, they're both in the same metal genre, and they're both, playing this kind of heavy metal music. But if you actually listen to both these bands, they're not the same,
Mhm.
and it's the same. We are in the same music genre as Vardruna, but we're not the same because we're not trying to be. We're just doing.
I think part of it is that this genre of music is fairly young.
Yeah.
So it's like in its infancy. So there aren't many, like Heilung and Vardruna are like Metallica and Slayer of folk music, they are
Of this genre. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
So it's there's not a big pool of big bands to compare yourself to or anything. So people just know those two names, and as soon as something sounds vaguely similar, they kind of associate it with
Yeah, absolutely, especially people on the outside. And I mean, it's undeniable that there are a lot of smaller copycat bands as well who kind of look at that and just want to follow that path. And then that's why people like yourself stand out so much more when it's in that genre, but you can tell the difference. And that's what I find so impressive about new bands, that you're your own thing. You're clearly doing your own thing. And that's what will then stand you out and make you grow and obviously get the huge numbers that you are getting.
But like if we go with the analogy of heavy metal, for instance, like go back to the early 80s, and if you're an outsider to the genre, you'll look at that and say, well, that pretty much all sounds the same, like from Judas Priest to Manowar to Iron Maiden. It doesn't really matter to the outsider, right? And then if you're an insider, you will be comparing new bands that are coming out to the ones that you already know, so it makes perfect sense. And then at some point there's some kind of innovation that happens as well, and then the genre progresses in some kind of direction, right? And I think actually that's what we're seeing now, that there's more innovation coming in with the bands like you guys. And yeah, you mentioned Nabala as another example of innovation in the genre. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see where this goes.
For sure, it really is. And that's something that's always fascinated me, Matthias, that do you think the more you listen to a genre of music, then your ear kind of tunes to it and you hear all the differences so much better? Because I think to your average Joe on the street that doesn't listen to metal, you put any kind of heavy guitar music on, they're going to go, it all sounds exactly the same. But obviously if you listen to it a lot, you can tell the difference. And the same with hip hop or grime or whatever it is. If you're just an average Joe, you kind of just go, it all sounds exactly the same. And I guess I went on that journey with, I'm big into sort of grime. And when I started, I was like, this all sounds very similar. And then when you listen to it more and more and more, I'm kind of like, there's a lot of subtle differences that you don't kind of pick up on unless you are listening to it for maybe like 3-4 hours a day and really getting into it. And I guess that's the same with this genre as well.
I would agree.
Of course, I think in the end, all we really want is people who actually enjoy our music to enjoy our music. That's why we did it.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to. Yeah, I think the best things in life are when people make things that they want to make, and then they're just like, "Here you go. This is what I've made, and enjoy it." And how about, I'm sure you're the same with like when you get to do a tattoo that you want to do, and it's not one that somebody's come and they brought you a design. They're kind of just like, have freedom and make something you want to make. And think about it when you know, I don't know if you still do a lot of horn carving, but when you had the freedom to just kind of do whatever you want, you kind of make the best things that you can because it's your creativity and you can just put it together.
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't carve horns anymore. I got pushed out of the market by Horns Devoted.
Don't say that.
No, I just don't have time anymore. But I still love to do it whenever I
Yeah, I'm not good into it either for a while with the pyrography and all that, but hopefully it will come to me. But I'm kind of getting my creative outlet with Vévaki, so at least that's good.
Mm-hmm. You said you shake some things.
Yes.
Is that is it
percussion section?
Yeah.
Stage shakers and stuff.
Is that? Oh, see, I was thinking like the maracas.
Yeah, it's like basically.
Well,
Nordic maracas. Yeah.
We have a shaft with a bunch of nuts on it.
Okay. And it makes a very particular type of sound.
It's very good sound.
Yeah, it's very nutty.
Oh, okay, nutty. I mean, all I can think of is that when Matthias is playing Midgastblot drum and bass section 2023, that you best believe that I'm on the side of the stage with the triangle, because I want to be on the stage some way that I can.
And maracas. We're gonna have maracas in there as well.
I'm the Bez to your drum and bass.
Listen, Daniel, there is a triangle sound in one of our songs. If you want to join us on stage, and do the triangle,
okay.
Feel free.
You can't take that back now. Now you said that.
But I broke my arm, so I might need some help on stage.
Yeah.
Okay, we are recording this, so I'm gonna.
You'll be our official substitute triangle player.
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, you can get away with
really
anything as long as you wear that coconut bikini.
Yes.
Oh, we are okay. I have to confess, we were gonna do. I did promise the coconut bikini this week as well, but I did, and this is quite sad actually. One of my dogs sadly got really ill yesterday. Had a stroke. We think it was a stroke or like a neurological episode. He's 13. So I've been a little bit sidetracked, sadly. So the coconut bikini is coming, and hopefully it will be next week. He's okay-ish at the minute, but I don't think he's probably got too long left. So it's he was my first dog. So like my first, like, you know, you have family pets, but he was like my first dog. So that was a bit of a sad thing that happened yesterday. But he's still with us. He's a little trooper. He's a little fighter. So he's still about. He's picked up a little bit. Hopefully he's got a little while left. Yeah, it's
our hearts are with him.
More Daniel snuggles.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh,
maybe some Doom folk can help you through this.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna pop it on. You plug all you want, shamelessly. You plug. No, I'm gonna pop it on for him and let him have a listen. But so that's kind of like why I was like, I'm not really in the mood to wear a coconut bikini right now.
We'll let it slide this time.
Yeah.
But next week, no excuse.
Next week, I don't know who we've got next week, but I'm sure it's some really high respected scholarly type.
That would be the most appropriate situation.
Yeah,
even better.
That would be the funniest situation.
Yeah.
The comedian in me is like, that's the funny one, is when it's somebody really serious, like I was gonna say like Terry Gunner, but I feel like he would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm sure he would.
But it's it's coming. We will do it. We'll get there. It was just a little bit of a shit evening last night.
Yeah. And a pineapple hat. Can we get that too?
Please.
I was going to say like a banana hat, but I feel like that's some sort of cultural appropriation. Was it like the Chiquita? Okay, do we not have the? Was it just England that had the Chiquita banana lady?
No.
Oh yeah.
The lady with the fruit on her head.
Was it?
Mhm.
Oh, was it fruit? Was it not just bananas?
Oh, it might have been bananas.
I think we had that too in
I
America.
feel like the Chiquita banana lady was just bananas, but I could be wrong.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I remember that ad.
Did she get canceled?
I don't think she did, but she was like a really beautiful Spanish Latin lady who had, I feel maybe like a coconut bikini or some sort of fruit bikini, and then this big banana-esque crown. I'm not making this up, right?
No, I remember this too, but
yeah.
I want to tell you that you're making it up just to freak you out.
Well, women do carry things on their head, so it's like I think it's definitely bananas.
I feel like it was a giant banana crown. So that was
Well, regardless, you're gonna have to put on a banana crown.
oh, I've got to make a banana crown now. This went from a coconut bikini top to then Alexander Drummond making it a full bikini with the bottom, and then now it's turned
And wrestling.
and wrestling, but now he's turned into a banana crown as well.
Full ensemble. The ensemble is complete.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be fabulous.
It would.
It would be very fabulous. Okay, so have you guys got many live shows planned? How's it working with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good answer for a podcast.
So we have our album release show on the 13th here in Reykjavik at a venue called Hura, and we have a couple of really amazing artists playing with us. Firstly, Hilmar and Helmerson, who's the
Alsa Pope.
The Alsa Pope.
Alsophobia.
Oh, wow, what a title!
No, he's the head of the also true religion in Iceland, the high priest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
He's a super good musician as well.
Yeah, he does some very innovative stuff.
yeah, he's brilliant, like a modern classical composer.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah, he's done soundtracks, and
Yeah.
he's definitely
He's
a
done
legend.
things with Seguros and
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like all
and
the-
Vardruna.
and Vardruna
yeah.
and all the good stuff.
And
Mhm.
hopefully accompanying him will be a man named Steindor Anderson, who's kind of brought back to life the rímur, which is like this way of singing these old poems. It's really beautiful, and yeah, I mean, I'm almost more excited to see them play than to actually
Oh,
play.
Wow. Okay.
And who else is coming?
Yeah,
We'll have a band called Umbra.
Yeah.
They are a sort of ensemble of classical instruments, but they don't really play classical music. More like sort of dark folk kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, very ethereal and beautiful.
Yeah, ethereal. And then JFDR.
Definitely not Doomfolk though. Don't let them take that.
Oh, that's our genre. Nobody gets in on that.
I definitely
Just you.
Yeah. And JFDR, I think Kirsten would know a little bit more about her.
I mean, she's a singer. It's her solo project. She used to be in a band called Gangly.
And Summers. Yeah.
Summers, yeah. She's done work with Ola Arnalds, Damien Rice. She's very talented.
super talented.
Yeah.
They were playing her song on the plane when I landed, and I got quite nervous. I was like, what?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like,
It's like I
we
didn't
have all
realize how
these-
big she is in this country.
We have so many good names on
Yeah.
that will accompany us.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
we're just so happy that this is the bang we start with.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really quite a show.
We're like the smallest band around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're super excited.
It's an honor, honestly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
next
Very
year
honored.
we will be playing shows at festivals and touring and
Mhm.
everything sort of to be announced. But springtime is usually just kind of slow. But as soon as festival season start, so will our playing of the music.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be tour dates in due time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Any in the UK?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
hopefully, definitely.
We're also looking with our special eyes at Midgårdsblod.
Yeah.
We can't confirm, but we really hoping in playing Midgårdsblod.
Oh, I mean, you would fit in perfectly if there
And
is
the
a
US.
I'm sure we can make that happen.
That's our hope.
Yeah.
Our collective powers can make. So we have two jobs from this podcast. Matthias, 2023 in the Guildhall drum and bass, and Vévaki to play at Midgårdsblod on equal level.
Could we focus our energy on those guys instead of me?
No, you're getting a spot. I'm gonna do everything I can.
Yeah.
Special feature Daniel Farran with the banana crown.
Yes.
Okay.
Triangle.
If I can play the triangle, I will do everything I can to make it happen.
I'd rather see you guys come over here and play and instead of me playing any drum and bass anywhere in the world at all.
I mean, any plans to go to America? Do you think that could be?
That's a later program.
That's a hard one.
We have to get a visa, and so maybe next 2024. But for now, we're focused on Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to start somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if there comes a time where it becomes realistic for us to tour America, we will. That's where we're at.
Fire in the Mountains, Matthias?
That would be cool.
If you know someone who knows someone who knows someone.
Or yes.
We know somebody.
I am somebody too. Yeah. No.
There isn't one this year, is there? I don't think there's no Fire in the Mountains this year.
No, not this year. But yeah, like we're brewing and scheming and stuff. So there things are gonna happen.
Yeah, that would be good. Ooh, I like it when things happen. No, I mean, obviously you guys would fit perfectly at Midgårdsblod. That's just it's clear. It would be a perfect match. So hopefully the call comes. Or you may have already.
We do find it very likely, but we can't say anything for sure.
Okay. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
We will be playing shows in Europe 100%, and our aim is festivals.
Yeah.
But we'll also do some touring, just regular bus touring. So
yeah, and we'll be playing here in Iceland a bit more as well.
How does that work with? I guess because I'm not massively into the music scene, so I guess is it easier when you're kind of starting out in that first year to then play festivals rather than doing your own individual shows places?
It's a bigger crowd for sure. It's hard to draw a big crowd when you're a new band. So festivals help a lot getting your music into more gigs, basically. But festivals are also just harder logistically.
Yeah.
We want to get into those ear holes.
Yeah, as many ears as possible. And festivals are great for that for new bands. So I would say yes. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's always good too.
But that also requires like willingness on the side of the festivals to bring in new bands. And
yeah, financially it's tough as well because they just festivals know that they have a lot of power over smaller artists.
Okay.
So you often don't get paid as much, but it's just it's an investment in new fans to me.
Yeah.
But like shows and touring is not really our department. We have a manager who sort of takes care of that.
An agent.
Manager. Yeah. So they'll just do their best to find us some gigs to play.
Yeah. So if you want to book, he's called Sultan. He works at Doomstar Bookings.
You know how much I'd love to say I have a manager for that or I have an agent for that. That must have felt good, Sigurd, right? To say that.
Oh, let me get my suit and tie.
Yeah.
That must feel good to be like, oh yeah, we'll just I'll get the agent to sort it.
Sultan problem.
It is a good feeling, but also to me, it's like, thank fuck, I don't have to worry about that.
God, yeah, I would not be able to. Like booking tours sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I would not want that job.
No,
at all.
Mm-hmm. So, because you guys, where are you guys signed?
Season of Mist.
Season of Mist. That's it. The name completely disappeared from me. So yeah, I guess that has to make it much easier actually being under a label and not having to navigate all this on your own.
Season of Mist and our booking company have like a very close relationship, so it's like a very easy partnership.
Yeah,
I think basically all the bands that are signed to Season of Mist also do booking with Doomstar, so
maybe. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to take a little bit of pressure off, kind of.
Yeah,
having to sort it all yourself.
Let's just focus on the music more, really.
Yeah.
The main thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the easiest part of being a musician is making the music.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
All this paperwork and preparing and blah blah blah. It's a lot of work, a lot of hours we put into just the album itself, the artwork. Well, Shrapneldur and our friend Seva, so many hours went into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna show it off now. Well, he's
get it. Show it.
So this is
it's pretty though.
She is amazing, talented. She actually she owns a tattoo studio with me that I work at now.
She goes by the name Strika. Strika artist.
So you might find this fascinating. The cover of our album is based on a description of we found called Finnmerkur Seiður. So I'll try to tell this briefly. So there was a young boy here in Iceland who would often, like, he was living on a farm. He would often go to the farm next door to his neighbor to read books because I think this was in the 18th century, and he would often go there to read books. And then later, his dad was like, "You shouldn't be going over there. He's this weird pagan dude." And then the man passed away, and they inherited his estate because they were the neighbors and stuff. And the boy went over and he took some of the books to read. And then he was reading this one book in particular. His dad found out and he burned it, but he wrote down from memory as much as he could from that book. And that book describes a seiður in Finnmark. And one part of the seiður is that they would put down 3 wooden pegs or like poles into the ground in a triangle, and then we would build a ladder between them. So the vulva would go and sit on top of the ladder with a cauldron of miscellaneous fluids like baby piss and all kinds of
miscellaneous fluid sounds awful.
And she would stir it up and sit there, and the smoke would come up, and she would sit there and inhale the smoke. And
I'm not just inhaling miscellaneous fluids.
People go.
Sounds like a good time to me.
People get high, really. And she would get high, basically, or go into a trance, and people would stand around, and she would give them prophecies. So that's the description of the film. So that's what is depicted on our album cover.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of magic with that seiður. So they could use it in various ways, like both good and evil prophecies, like find out things. It's like kind of all in one, seasonal.
Multi-purpose seiður.
Yeah. We'll actually go more into that on the next.
And a sad thing, Matthias might think this said, the boy, when he wrote this down, he did write down, I saw some poetry about Barlokur, but I don't remember them exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We were so close.
And having close. Oh.
Okay.
Explain Barlokur, or should I do it?
Yeah, just go ahead, man.
Yeah, so in Eiríksa Rauða, Eiríkur travels to Greenmark to Greenland, along with his son Leif Erikson, who goes on to discover North America. And they're in a hall there, and a völva comes in and wants to perform some kind of ritual. But she asks sort of to the people in the hall, does anybody know how to sing a varloka, which is a sort of protective spell to let the landwights know of what's happening and to ask for protection. And one Christian girl was there. She was like, I know it, but I don't really want to sing it because it's not Christian. And they sort of egg her on, and she sings a varloka, and it is described to the people said it's the most beautiful thing they've ever heard in their lives. So unfortunately, we have lost all these varloka poems, but the last song on our album is called Varloka, which is sort of our tribute to this epic poem.
Well, that's nice.
Nice. Is it going to be the most beautiful song I've ever heard?
Yes.
How very tenacious D.
Yes.
Think about it. You played a little trick on me earlier this week.
Yes. Yes, I did.
What happened?
Okay. So I'm glad that you mentioned this before the podcast, actually, and I didn't embarrass myself on the podcast. So I posted in our Facebook group, anybody that wants to join the Facebook group, it's Nordic Mythology Podcast, saying how we'd released our Halloween episode from last week. It was a lot of fun. And then Sigbody, what did you comment?
Yeah, you were talking about these scary Viking myths or something, and I couldn't help myself.
Nukalava, the horse with one eye, with no skin, and a guy on his back with his knuckles dragging on the floor. That scary fucker.
Yeah. So I couldn't help myself. I said, have you heard about the scary myth of Dögt Súkkulaði?
And you ate it up.
You ate it up, yeah.
I ate it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
what did I reply?
You can say anything if you use fancy Icelandic words. People are like, oh, what's that? What's Dögt?
So my reply was, okay, Sigmund, don't tell me that, but I was like, Sigmund, shh, don't tell me about that now. Let's talk about that on the podcast tomorrow. So I thought you had a really scary story to tell us.
Well, I mean, Dögt Súkkulaði is pretty scary.
It is.
It's chocolate.
It keeps me up at night.
Oh, I don't like dark chocolate.
That's the best kind. Come on, guys.
Oh no!
I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Dark chocolate with licorice. That's my favorite.
Licorice.
Milk
Always
licorice.
Oh, spoken like a true American right there. No licorice.
Depends on like if we're talking like 95% dark chocolate, then it's basically a bowl of mud.
Yeah. Well, that
Yes. And mud is great. So as a Scandinavian living in the US, I've found that like Americans have like the same fetish that we have with licorice, Americans have with peanuts. Like there's peanuts and everything here.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
Yeah.
Peanut M&Ms.
But Denmark took it way too far with putting licorice in things when they started making licorice chips. I'm like, no.
Excuse me?
No. Yeah.
Chips is in crisps or is in
Yes, as in
chips.
Crisps. Yeah, crisps.
Did you see that war that went? Sorry,
No,
to cut you off. Some Danish company were saying that they were the first to invent chocolates with licorice, and it greatly offended the Icelandic nation to the point where our president tweeted about it, say like, what a ridiculous thing for Denmark to say. We've had it for years.
Yes.
So if you want to offend Iceland, because we talked about it earlier, just offend something, like do something about licorice, everybody will go.
Oh, we love our licorice.
We take our licorice very seriously.
Oh, it's insane. When I was in Iceland and I as a Brit, I just wanted some chocolate. I wanted a little bit of nice Cadbury's chocolate, milk chocolate, whatever. I went to the shop and everything was licorice. Like whether it was like
You're welcome.
Yeah, and it's salt licorice because sweet licorice.
It's gross.
That's for the Finns. That's what the Finns
they
see.
can have that.
Yeah.
And for the English, to
Yeah.
be honest.
I guess the English too, and maybe the Dutch. I don't know about them.
Do you have licorice popcorn here in Iceland? Like a few various kinds.
It's good. I like that.
It's really good.
We have licorice everything.
Yeah. It seems to be such a Scandinavian thing as a whole, but particularly Iceland seemed to be the most licorice, and but the other, Norway, they're like, you guys still have a fucking lot of it. But
we wear that bats proudly.
Where does that come from? Does anybody know why that's
no, that's a very good question.
It's just a very, very tasty treat.
It comes from the volcanoes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Of course. Of course it does.
Matthias, I know you must know the answer to this.
The answer on anything touristy in Iceland, it comes from our volcanoes.
Yeah.
What was the fascination with licorice?
Yeah, because it does seem to be a very Scandinavian, Icelandic thing. This chocolate,
just
sweets.
One thing before I go on a rant about licorice, I managed to piss off Jonas in our chat here, saying that the Finns like the sweet licorice. But if you don't like the sweet licorice, Finland, why is it called Finnish licorice in the rest of Scandinavia? That is my question. Okay, moving on to the question about why is licorice a thing? It's because we don't have other good things. So licorice comes to Europe in the 1600s. That's when it becomes a thing. It originally based off of horse blood. Becomes very popular in Northern Europe. And then we don't get any other candy until Americans show up with bubble gum. And that's a very recent thing. And so, yeah.
Hubba bubba. Throwback.
Hubba bubba. So this is just something that we have cultivated in the north, and added an ammonium chloride to it because that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there is a plant that grows here that kind of tastes like licorice. And so people maybe were already familiar with that kind of taste and ooh, this candy tastes just like that plant, and so just got popular.
I used to gnaw on that plant all the time.
I don't know what it's called.
No. It's a very Icelandic.
Of course you did.
Anise or something.
Yeah, star anise. It's almost like anise. It's that kind of flavor. It's something that you do as a kid in Iceland. You find those plants.
You chew on them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's we didn't eat these. Do you have dockleaf? Does anybody else have nettles? Or is that a very British thing?
I don't know what they are.
No.
They're those little...
Look like drops, right?
Yeah, it's when you're walking and these little fucker of a plant that has they're almost like little needles on the underside of the leaf. And when you brush past them, they sting your leg.
Yeah. They don't grow here.
And then duck leaf is supposed to cure the stinging, but that's apparently a myth.
The duck leaf. That's where I was going with this. Yeah. Is that your parents or whoever used to tell you there's this leaf, and it looked like a fucking weed leaf.
You can make great soup out of that.
Yeah, there was find the duck leaf, and then you have to rub it on the nettle sting, and apparently it stops. But
I think it's a placebo, though.
I mean, it helped me. We were berry picking with Sean the Perry, and I got stung on a nettle, and you try to rub this on, and it felt better. Yeah, maybe a placebo, but.
Mm-hmm.
In Denmark, we make soup out of the nettles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there is nettle soup. That is a thing. It's almost like the whole pissing on is it octopus sting? Jellyfish sting.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's not real. What was that?
Jellyfish.
I think it's jellyfish. I don't know how many octopi are stinging people.
No, it was jellyfish. Silly me. But apparently that's not a real thing.
Like peeing on yourself.
Pissing it.
No, of course not. This is just something that people came up with to make you look like an ass.
Friends. I blame Friends.
Yeah,
they do that in that one episode. Yeah.
But I believed it. I thought that was real. The power of television.
I mean, I thought it was real until just now. So
yeah.
See,
It's the same with like this thing of like peeing on like a cut or a wound. You heard of that one?
Oh.
No, not just a normal. I'm not cutting my finger just in my hand. Where did this come from?
It's like you can clean your wound with
Please,
that.
please don't piss on your fresh tattoos.
Oh no, don't do that.
Really don't.
I think there is a myth that people think that pee is sterile.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not.
No.
Oh, is it not? Is it not?
No. It just
bacteria that your
doesn't
body-
have that like normal healthy pee just doesn't have that high level of bacteria in it. I think it's something that has to do with like a bacteria threshold that actually the American FDA came up with. Isn't the FDA the health people or
Yeah.
you know that kind of stuff.
I thought that it was I always thought it was sterile.
Have you been peeing on your tattoos, Dan?
No, I have not. I have not. No, but Sigmund, I think I said this.
You're drinking there, or is it...
Oh no!
What this? It's the finest whiskey.
Yeah, so you have to
It's
stop
not.
peeing in your sink now.
What was that, Haber?
You have to stop peeing in your sink now.
Oh, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I have done that before.
We came on this podcast to talk about piss.
Have you not been listening to this podcast lately? We go down some weird ass rabbit holes here.
Whatever rabbit hole we go down, that's where we go. But no, think about it. I think we talked about this before we started. Obviously, the last time you were on to now, I think it's maybe been 18 months. You are a full-blown tattooist now. And it's been fun watching your journey from literally learning. And I mean, you always had a skill for drawing and art in general. You know, you were making the horns, clearly an artist. But to watch you go from kind of your first tattoo to then seeing what you're producing now, I've enjoyed the journey. I think it's fascinating.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's all kind of thanks to lovely Hrafnhildur over here who got me introduced into tattooing. But I'm thoroughly enjoying being a tattoo artist, which I was never planning on becoming. It just kind of fell from the sky, and it's definitely where I need to be.
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you marry a tattooist.
It's a possibility, yeah. Don't expect it, you know.
Yeah, you have to have some level of skill yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just go finding a tattoo artist and trying to marry them in order to suck out their power.
I mean, you could try, but
to be honest, I'm not expecting to be like a full-on musician either in this relationship.
Yeah, when we started dating, she said that she doesn't sing.
Okay.
I don't.
In front of people.
Yeah, because I think I heard her sing in the shower, and I was like, you have a lovely voice," and she's like, "No, I don't. Don't listen to me."
Yeah, it's been a long road overcoming the fear and stage fright.
Yeah. No, but that's fascinating because I bet there's so many people that are in that boat as well. Who, I mean, I can't sing. You can hear my speaking voice. You know I can't sing. It's just one of the things. It's one of the absolutes in the world that I just.
You learn.
But, no, I can't. There are so many people who I bet can, sing in the shower or sing it, but they don't have the confidence or the opportunity, I guess, as well, to, do it or explore it. And however, I guess. If you're singing in the shower, you must have an interest in singing, I guess. But then to be taken out of your, I know you giggle, but I don't sing in the shower because I have no interest in singing. So I feel like if you're doing that, you at least must enjoy singing to some degree. But then to be
like always, I always loved singing, and I was singing a lot when I was younger. But then, just all of a sudden you become shy and. You just stop kind of doing it in front of people. And yeah, I was in choirs and all that jazz, and I had loads of fun. But yeah, then just I stopped and wasn't expecting to pick it up again. But I'm super happy.
Just marry a musician. So easy.
Yeah.
See?
Well, I mean, that's quite interesting how you both kind of crossed over in the relationship. Obviously, how about you're a tattooist, Sigurd now a tattooist, and Sigurd, you're a musician, and how about you are now in a band singing?
The power transfer complete.
Yes. Kind of
Is this
one.
What kind of mind meld going on here?
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Is this your final form?
Oh, just you wait. We need the triangle guy with the banana hat. And that would be
I've got my hand up here. If you, I mean, I know you're joking about this, but if you need a triangle player, I'm there. But somebody needs to tell me exactly when to do it. You can't trust me to listen to the music. I need somebody stood off stage just going, now.
Oh, we have a countdown in our ears. So
okay.
So Jorvik, it's on.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. We get the little I'm nervous.
You can study these uploads and listen exactly when the ding comes in.
Well, now I'm getting FOMO over here in the mountains.
Oh, you Matthias, I will get you. I swear, I will get you a drum and bass. Any way we need to do it.
Well,
wherever it needs to be, I will get you a set.
You can play the nuts.
Yeah, Matthias, you can play the nutshell, or at the end of the song, there's another ding to close the song, so you can do the second ding.
Wonderful.
Think about it. Don't you give away my dings. Don't give away my dings. They're my dings.
You're gonna make me unemployed here.
Yeah, you're on the
stealing Hoppa's job.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to steal Hoppa's dings. But Matthias, you're not taking my fucking dings. They're mine.
That's where we cross the line.
Yeah, you find your own instrument to play.
Didn't see what would you say? Like play the nut shaft.
Yeah.
The nut shaft. Is that the name of the nut shaft? Is that its name?
Now.
Yeah.
That's the like the professional term.
Yeah. The Oxford Dictionary.
Okay, so when you say it's a shaft with nuts on it, I assume you mean. I assume you mean
You
nuts.
want it to be, Daniel. Don't worry about
It's
it.
your imagination.
I assume no. I need to understand this. I assume it's nuts as in a metal hexagonal.
No,
It's like
they're
no nut.
nuts.
No,
They're like literal nuts.
actual.
They're like
actual.
shells of nuts, so
Yeah.
they like rattle around. They make like a rattling sound.
Oh, I was way off then. I was thinking that you had a stick with like metal nuts, as in nuts and bolts, that was rattling.
That sounds more like a murder weapon. Though, you know?
Yeah.
Chill out.
It does.
Or some weird thing. You just
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I thought it was like one of those things that you tipped, you know, like you remember those tubes that when you used to tip it one way, it'd go,
Yeah.
you know the ones that I mean?
Yeah.
It was like something like that. That you,
Or something, right?
You
It's very, like,
yeah, you like tipped it. It went,
maybe use one of those in the one of our songs.
Oh.
oh, yes.
Yeah.
One of those flutes where you like pull out on the
Like,
thing and goes.
Matthias,
Yeah.
you just got a job.
I got a job. Yes, I landed myself a job. Fuck this professor thing.
We're gonna have to find two people to replace us on the podcast. We're gonna be sat with Vévaki next time.
Yeah.
There'll be 6 of us sat there.
Yes.
All right.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
But if you do need a triangle player, I will do my best.
Yeah. You're on first on the list.
Yeah.
We will hold you to that.
First,
You're playing in Jorvik. Like, I'm not joking. So
Yeah.
prepare.
I'll be first replacement.
With the coconut bikini and the banana.
No replacement. You're our first choice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do coconut bikini and I will play.
And
Yes.
banana head.
This, I think we made this reference before. And Matthias, you didn't know. Have you guys heard of the Happy Mondays?
No.
Oh, okay. So this doesn't work. So the Happy Mondays were a band, I think, like in the 90s, I think 90s from Manchester, and they loved drugs. Loved drugs. Okay. But they had a one big song called "You're Twisting My Melons, Man," which maybe you've heard of, maybe not. But they had, I guess it was like a friend of the band who snuck on called Bez. So you had like the band, and then you had this guy called Bez who didn't play in the band, but he was like the official dancer for the band. So like you got to imagine, like, it's the 90s, everybody's off their face on ecstasy, and you have this one guy who has maracas, and he's also off his face on every drug known to man. And his job is literally just to dance around on stage and entertain the crowd. He's part of the band. He's
Are you describing your dream to us right now, Daniel? What you would like to be in the future? By the way, isn't it only British bands that have official dancers, like the Prodigy and stuff like that? Like that one dude who's just like in charge of like waving his arms around. Like, what is that?
I guess Hot have their own dancers, don't they?
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
They're super cool.
Yeah. Hot Daddy.
That band that went to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have like 3 official dancers. They're like, I feel like they're just part of the band at this point.
Yeah, I think definitely are.
Yeah.
It's it wouldn't be the same show without.
Yeah, I agree.
Daniel, when you're describing this, though, I'm just like thinking of Peep Show with like Jeremy and Super Hands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll be Super Hands. We can be men with Ven.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. And we can do this. We can do something special here.
Yes.
So much potential.
Yeah.
I will be your best.
Okay.
Can't wait.
You're the best.
Just hype the crowd up. All right. Should we let's wrap this up, and then we can get off and plan the concert.
Okay.
Yes.
Mateus, you're coming. We're a pair. We're a pair. Wherever I am, you come. Sounds a little bit sexual, but
okay.
You kind of have to join us now.
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
We will make it happen.
As long
Absolutely.
All I know I've mentioned this already, but all I want in life is to see Mateus in front of a pair of decks with a big pair of headphones on, like the really big ones, but one of them not on the ear. So one like behind the ear. So you've got one ear free, yeah, like that. And but you're cupping that ear anyway because you need to sound out the sound because that's what they do.
Of course. Yeah.
And then
backwards as well.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And then just stood in front of decks, just with one hand in the air. But really, you're not doing anything because they don't do anything. Everything's already electronically played out. But you just spinning those beats. Like that's my goal in life now, is to see you do that. That's all I want.
You know, I am not going to say that this will never happen. I think we can make it happen.
Well, I feel like this is not impossible.
No.
Oh, it's not. we know enough.
It's impossible. Don't let your dreams.
It's happening, Jorvik.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we know enough bands at this point. We can get you to support one of them. It has to. It has. I'm going to push this until it comes to fruition.
Okay, cool. Let's make it happen.
Get practicing.
Yeah.
If you can get us in on Jorvik, then we will make this happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Make some calls for us.
We're gonna make some calls, and then Mateus is gonna. We're gonna fly Mateus in.
Get some bikini.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Am I also wearing a coconut bikini?
Yes.
Dan got himself into that mess.
Question.
Why am I dragged into that?
Ask a dumb question, you know.
Because we are a team, Mateus. I said this before. We are a duo. Where I go, you come, and where you go, I come. Non-sexual.
No,
What happens at Jorvik stays at Jorvik. Yes.
Exactly.
Holy shit! I'm getting dragged into something here.
I actually don't know what I've signed up for. All right, let's wrap this up. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Just talking.
I'm not mad at it though.
no.
What was that, Haba?
It's just 10% band talk.
Yeah,
The rest is just
piss and coconuts.
90% shit talk.
That's the best way it goes.
yeah.
They're the most fun episodes because do you guys want to shout out the band, shout out where people can listen to it, most importantly where they can support you financially and maybe buy some things?
You can listen to us on all of the streaming things, Spotify and the like.
Vévaki is the band name and Fórnspeki is the album name.
Yeah, and we have some merch. You can find it on the Season of Mist merch shop, or you can get it off Bandcamp. We have some beautiful vinyls and some shirts that were all done by friends of ours, artists that did an amazing job on the designs. So definitely go check those out.
Definitely check the vinyl out. The vinyl is beautiful. That's one of those things you want to own as like its own piece of artwork.
We also have some music videos up on YouTube. That we're really proud of. You can check out. I think if you just type in Vévaki on YouTube, we will pop up.
Yeah. Also, we just released like a full album video online. It was recorded by a man here named Daniel Puskaus, and he did a really amazing job of. So you can listen to the full album on YouTube, but it won't just be like the cover art. He's actually spent 3 weeks capturing the Icelandic landscape and just did like an amazing job of tying the textures of this place into the music, into the songs.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely go check that out.
Daniel is amazing.
Yeah, he is so talented. And also we want to be super inclusive to people. So we actually made translations of all of our lyrics. So people who get our CD or our vinyl, they can look at the English translation and really get what the lyrics are about.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's good. Because as much as I really enjoy listening to music I don't understand, but I also, there's something nice, particularly, Sigurd, you might be able to relate to this when you're when I'm carving something and I'm concentrating on kind of carving a horn, I enjoy music that I don't really understand the lyrics to.
You don't have English.
No.
You can just leave it a mystery forever.
No, but I really enjoy that. I enjoy kind of just not being able to understand it. It's just maybe it's something that doesn't distract me away.
Yeah.
But then obviously being able to then go and look at it after and kind of see the meaning behind it is quite important.
I'm in the same boat as you. Like bands like Severos and Alsace and like that sing in French and Icelandic, I think that's like a big part of their appeal.
Yeah, because the voice becomes like another instrument.
Yeah, I mean, so many metal bands with the screaming.
Yeah.
You have to look up the lyrics. You understand.
Yeah, it's just the voice becomes just equal with the music. It's another texture.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of bands that are foreign to me, and I always enjoy knowing the gist of what's happening. So like I love reading the translation about it and then keep listening to it, but have the context. And I know a little bit more about the emotions that go into it, like because I know a bit more what they're singing about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Alyssa just put in the chat about Kape, the Norwegian kind of hip hop band, and that's one of the bands that stood out for me that I don't understand a word they're saying, and no clue. I don't know what you're saying, but I know that it's something important. And you could just get that feel from the band, from the music, seeing them live. You can just tell there's this important message behind it, even though you don't understand it. And that's kind of this really nice thing that crosses all language barriers, that you can just you get this feel from music.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, our audience is kind of, well, is there maybe 400,000 people in the entire world who actually understand Icelandic? So, and how many of those will actually listen to our band? Who knows? So I think it's good if people want to read the translations.
Probably dozens. Dozens.
I don't know, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen an inflation in people learning Icelandic these days. So you might be getting closer to 500,000.
I mean, there are 360,000 people who live in Iceland, and then there's some thousands in Denmark and other. I don't even know how to make a guess, but I just said 400.
Oh, there has
500,000 will definitely.
There has to be 100,000 Viking bros on Facebook saying that they're learning Icelandic.
Well,
yes,
between learning and understanding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there has to be at least 100,000 of them, because I see them every week. Just saying, I'm learning Icelandic now, and it's like, are you though?
Kind of hard.
Are you though?
Are you though? Because it's difficult. I've been trying to learn Norwegian for like Duolingo the last 155 days. I don't know Norwegian.
Yeah. No, I mean, Icelandic is the final boss of languages. So I get that. It's
okay.
But yeah, even our, like what you were going to say, like even modern Icelanders might find it tough to understand.
Yeah, the old Icelandic bits might even confuse modern Icelanders. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there are languages out there that are a lot harder.
Finnish, probably.
Yeah, I
sure.
heard Russian is kind of tough as well. Finnish.
Yeah.
I don't know about,
I think it's definitely difficult. I mean, I could speak it when I was like 3 years old, so I don't know. It's not that hard.
So is Finnish completely different to? Because it seems like Norwegian can understand, Swedish, Danish, a little bit of Icelandic or whatever, but is Finnish just completely different?
It's a Finno-Ugric language, whereas the other ones are Germanic and Indo-European. So yeah, fundamentally different.
Oh,
but not that difficult.
That's our cat. She's been with us this whole time.
Does she tour with you?
No.
Hopefully not. She's kind of a bitch.
Oh, little cat.
No, yeah, Finnish is definitely complicated. But sure, definitely if we encourage people, it's not like some kind of gate to be kept. We enjoy when people learn Icelandic, and we enjoy if somebody's trying to learn Icelandic and they, when he's trying to speak to me, I was like, good job, buddy. Ooh, good job. You're there's no elitism that I've found in Iceland of people wanting to learn Icelandic met with.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that happens because I think for the most part, everybody in Scandinavia and Iceland, particularly younger generations, they all speak English, very good English, like pretty much perfect English. So when you get, say, somebody like me who's trying to learn Norwegian, and then I go into a shop or in a situation where I try to use it, they then know that I'm not Norwegian and that I'm trying, so they just reply in English because it's like, oh, it's just easier just to let's just talk in English. Whereas I'd kind of just prefer that struggle through, so you kind of learn from it. But it just becomes this thing of, oh, let's just turn to English because it's easier.
Yeah, because
I mean, complaint that people have.
Yeah, it's a big problem here actually.
They're trying to get, because everybody speaks English, but nobody's gonna be mad at you for trying to learn Icelandic. Or
it's very hard to get people to kind of just slow down and take a breather. Just like focus on listening. I always give. When I hear that people are trying to speak Icelandic, I always give them the option. Like if I'm order in a restaurant or something, I say, do you want me to speak English or Icelandic to you? And sometimes they will say English and sometimes Icelandic. And I think that's just like the way to go. Just see what the people want to do instead of just assuming.
That's very nice. I think it's the speed. It's the speed that particularly gets me, of like the speed the Norwegian speak. I'm like, I can't separate the words. Like if you just wrote it down, I'd probably understand it. But when you just say it so quickly, it's like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I relate to that because your example of Norwegian, I understand Norwegian pretty well if it's written, but then a Norwegian friend of mine speaks and I have no idea what he's saying. It's just
it's so fast.
It is.
People in Denmark sometimes speak English to me nowadays. It's kind of weird. My home country. So I walk into a 7-Eleven and I say something in Danish and he replies in English and I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, you've lost your Danishness.
Oh, totally. Apparently I have an accent.
Oh my God.
I have an accent in all languages now. That's interesting.
You belong to no one.
I like it that way.
Yeah.
You
You
just
language fingerprints.
yeah.
Scrape them off.
No, that's. I mean, I think it's people who know more than one language it fascinates me because the Brits we're shit at. We're just terrible at it. We're just not good at learning language. We just assume everybody's going to speak English. And Will, you might. Is that how kind of like Americans feel as well? I know as a Brit, when I go, particularly when I was younger and a little bit more ignorant, you just kind of assume that the other people are going to speak English to you, or at least enough that we can get by. And that was the way that we learned language in school as well. It was never a priority. I went to French classes and I can't remember anything from it because they were just kind of mess about lessons because it wasn't important because that's kind of how we were taught as ignorant little British kids.
I think America is quite similar in that regard. I think also it's such a big country and a lot of people don't leave. I think I don't remember like the percentage, but it was an alarming statistic of the amount of Americans that don't even have passports. So yeah, I think we're a bit similar, but I wonder like with, because my wife is British and she was trying to learn a bit of Icelandic as well, but she can't roll her R's for shit. And I think,
oh yeah, wow, no, that's hard.
That's a big handicap.
Yeah, for Icelandic, that's Can you roll your R's, Daniel?
No, like that's just a noise that my mouth doesn't make.
Yeah, try anyway.
Okay, what do I have to say? Give me. I need something to say to even try.
Rappabarragrauter. Say that.
Rappapara.
So say it again.
Rappapara means rhubarb.
Yeah.
That's rhubarb.
Yeah, rappapara.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I'm so many bubbles.
10 points.
The R is actually incredibly fascinating as a consonant. That's not really a consonant all the time. Like it's one of the consonants with most variation in different languages. And the reason that you can't say the dental R is because of the French. There you go. You can blame the French on that one. Yes.
Blame.
Okay, you can't leave it. Okay, I was going to wrap it up there, but you can't leave it at that. Why?
It's a pronunciation. Yeah, it's a pronunciation that comes from France that then expands throughout Europe. And it's like in Danish, it's like really ridiculous because the R is almost disappearing at this point. Like you only really hear the R when it's in the front of a word. Otherwise it's become some sort of like weird vowel. So that's that. Okay. Random linguistic facts.
Do you have an example of that?
Like the red growth, but
Yeah.
Rhubarb, rababa, right?
Oh,
So that's
so just
R. Yeah, RABARBER, rababa.
yeah.
So you hear the R in the
Okay.
beginning, but then it's gone afterwards.
it sounds different in rødgrød med.
Rødgrød med fløde.
I got you to do it the second time. Twice I've been on here.
All right.
I'll get you to say that.
All right, let's wrap this up. Okay, go and listen to Vévaki. Find it on all the streaming services. But if you can, go and support them by buying merch. Obviously, means a lot to bands where you can. Let's not be about them or support them financially. It helps all bands, of course it does. Matthias, where can people find you?
You can always find me on Instagram, just Matthias Nordic, and there I am. You can also look at my website, just Matthias Nordic, and there I am. There you go.
Behind the decks by Drum and Bass Club.
Yeah.
There's also that, and I'm sure there's a Reddit thread that's like shitting all over me too. So, if you want to have some fun reads.
I need someone to make like a GIF of you, like just opening like an old dusty trunk and getting some decks out and blowing them off and just getting ready for what's to come. Because it's gonna be fun.
That'd be cool.
It's gonna. I mean, Matthias, we know enough people at this point that we must be able to put. I say we. I mean you must be able to put together some sort of folk, Viking, Nordic drum and bass.
That's it. I'm hitting abort on this episode. You're done, Daniel.
There has to be some path where this can become a thing. There has to be. We have enough musical minds that we can throw at this where this can become a real, actual thing.
Absolutely. I am 100% down.
Easton can definitely do it for you.
There you go. Now all we need is banana hats, and there we are.
Okay. If you enjoy the show and all the weird tangents that we go down, please follow us on, I guess, Instagram, Facebook. Well, everywhere is just Nordic Mythology Podcast. We put a bunch of videos on YouTube now. This episode will go on YouTube where you can see the pretty faces of Vévaki. It's literally just nodding. Ooh, doing some poses. If you can, go to YouTube. It's literally Nordic Mythology Podcast. Hit the subscribe. Hit the little bell icon, I think it is, that lets you know when we drop a video. And above all else, if you can, please support us on Patreon. You get the episodes 2-3 weeks ahead of everybody else, and we're going to start doing some bonus material for there as well. Yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you all very much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you guys live as well. In England, at Jorvik, at Midgardsport.
In Denver.
That's where it's going to be.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care. You guys have a good evening.
Oh, you too.
Yeah. Bye.